What you do is you take an item that you're the only game in town. You got to make sure there's nobody else has it for sale, like some real rare transmog piece or something like that. You put it in the auction house for some, the high-end price, like really kind of bleeding edge. You're going to get whispers because there are going to be a lot of people that are going to want it, but they're not going to want to pay your price. They're going to try to get you to lower your price by making you feel bad.
Yeah.
So here's what you do. You take in all the whispers and you say, well, yeah, I think I'm going to keep it at this price for another, half an hour before I change the price. And if I haven't sold it, I'll change the price in a half an hour. And a half an hour later, you raise the price by 10%. And then it repeats. You'll get whispers from people saying, do you realize that you raised the price and not lowered it? Yeah, but I kept it that way for like a half hour before I raised the price. I think I'm going to keep it at this price for about that long again.
You're listening to the Goblin Goldcast with Dex and Mac. I got mouths to feed, so let's get this thing started. Time is money, friend.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, Azeroth. You're listening to the Goblin Goldcast, your guide to making gold in World of Warcraft. This is episode 34. I'm your host, Dex, coming to you from Napa, California. With me on Skype is the man with legs the same color as string cheese, my co-host Mac from Anchorage, Alaska. How you doing, Mac?
Doing great. Not much tanning in the winter up here, so yeah, that. You think my legs are pale? You should see my feet.
It's like when you put your bathing suit on the first time of the summer. It's like, you shouldn't have worn your white socks. It's like, I don't have any socks on.
I've blinded my share of people with my feet. Yeah.
Yeah. Tonight we're going to forego our usual weekly WoW update. Partly because we have an interview that we'd like to get right to, but mostly because I don't think I could stand to hear about yet another legendary that Matt got that he can't even use yet on some secondary tune that he never plays.
No, it's all good. I've got a couple emails that came in this week, and guys, we are going to go over those during next week's podcast. So I know I wrote you back and told you we'd talk about them this week, but I think the interview is probably going to take up most of the show.
Joining us on the podcast tonight is Constrax from the long-running podcast Control Alt WoW. This is a podcast that's been around for a very long time and has over 500 episodes. Now, before the interview, we gave you a list of potential questions so you could be prepared and not be caught off guard by something you weren't expecting. That was a ruse. We won't be using that list at all. Sorry about that. Just kidding.
Well, Constrax, thanks for giving us the interview. Why don't we start by having you tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're from, etc.
Well, I'm a 45-year-old driver. I work in the transportation industry. I both drive a tractor trailer and a 5-ton truck. I have a college degree in computer programming, and I like to keep things as simple as possible.
All right. So from your whole life in Canada, born and raised?
Yeah, I visited London and Russia when I was 19. That was quite the experience. Something I'll never forget, seeing like the Red Square. And I've also traveled to the States and visited New York. And again, like things that you cannot comprehend until you see them for yourself. Like seeing those places on TV is nothing like being there and being able to touch stuff and talk to people there.
I tried to do that when I was 18. I joined the Navy to see the world, and they sent me shore base to California,
where you spent a lot of time. I'm just blown away by how great your English is. Being Canadian.
English is not my first language, so that would probably be my saving grace there. I learned French when I was born, and when I was 14, I moved to Yellowknife, Northwest Territories. So I got to learn the art form of being a chameleon and throwing back other people's accent back at them. If I speak to somebody from Mexico, I end up talking with a Mexican accent.
See, now this really sucks because you took my joke and you made it into a serious question because it really wasn't your first language. I was trying to make a joke, eh? And it just It didn't
good.
fly, you hoser. You just ruined the whole thing. Anyway, I wasn't even thinking the French-Canadian thing. I did not realize you were French-Canadian.
I'm in disguise. Don't tell anyone.
Oh, my God. Why don't you tell us a story about when you first started playing WoW? When was it? Who got you started? What was your first character, race and class, and why?
My first character was a human rogue because I was going through the Lich King hint book, and I was looking at all the talent trees and all the various things, and human, your base weapon as a rogue was supposed to be a mace, and I thought, what a piece of garbage this is. I want something fun and that I can really sink my teeth into. And then I saw that humans got killing spree, and you got +1 expertise with swords. So I was like, I could be a swashbuckler. I do not have to hide all the time. I could just be the pirate, like in The Princess Bride, who's just like fighting with his left hand at first, and then I do not understand why you are smiling. Because
inconceivable.
I don't think that means what you think it means. Yeah.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
So I was always kind of a quick reply, and one of the most valuable things I learned in high school was how to type 40 words in a minute in typing class, because that is so handy when you're playing an MMO. To be able to give a quick reply without even looking at the keyboard.
Especially if you're not on a voice chat. That was the thing that killed me, is I don't type very quickly. And before we first got involved in doing voice chat while we play, that was my downfall. I was playing EverQuest, and I was playing a class called Bard. And bards are constantly twisting songs, and everybody's getting text from me. Hey, how you doing? 1122. I was wondering 334411. Just so that was kind of the way I communicated. But you do have me a little bit worried here. We're only 2 questions into this thing, and so far you're a Canadian that plays Alliance.
Wow.
We do have a firm 3 strikes rule on this podcast, and now unfortunately I'm a little afraid to ask you even the basic question of boxers or briefs,
The answer to that is boxers, by the way.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
And to get back to your question... I'm
just kidding. Boxers is the right answer. So
to get back to your question, a coworker approached me, and he was like one of my besties at work, somebody you could ask for help on anything. And he looked really tired because he'd moved from a warehouse job to an office job, and now he was raiding like 7 nights a week. He went from casual to hardcore, and he offered me a 10-day trial, and I said, listen, I physically don't have time to play this. I drive a tractor trailer, and I have to have my brain power all there when I approach an intersection. And I'm watching 18 to 23 things, the guy on the skateboard, the other guy on the bicycle who's using the pedestrian lane. And I said, I have to be focused and alert. I go, but I got vacation in 2 weeks, and within 10 minutes I was hooked.
Yeah. Well, that's how it kind of goes. That's how it kind of goes, I think. That's how they get you.
Yes.
So prior to WoW, did you play any other MMOs? And if so, which ones?
Not really MMOs. Like I never. I heard about EverQuest. Didn't appeal to me. I heard about text-based, online turn-based style MMOs where you log in and you say attack this kingdom with my little army, and then you win for 2 days and then you get smashed for the rest of the month until reset happens. Because everybody gangs up on you because you've attacked a guild leader of whatever that realm is that you're on. And so those didn't last very long, maybe 3 months. And then I was playing, before World of Warcraft, I was playing Diablo 2 Lord of Destruction, and that was one of my go-to games for like 5 years.
Oh, I played a lot of that. I played a whole lot of that before MMOs made me forget that there are other types of games to play. I was playing a lot of things for a while there before MMOs came along and kind of ruined it for everything else. What? No persistent world? Well, then we're just going to have to move right along, aren't we? It's might as well be Canadian playing Alliance.
Yeah.
But, I mean, no. So,
Not that there's anything wrong.
not that there's anything wrong with that. So what realm or realms do you play on, and do you prefer, the blue server PvE, or do you get your PvP on?
I play mostly on Thorium Brotherhood US Alliance because that's where the bulk of my professions is, and I dabble in gold making from listening to years and years of podcasts. So
Yeah.
I've built a core of profession tunes that have not all the recipes, but all the probably current ones and all the ones that are fairly good at making gold. And I used to have all the transmog recipes a few expansions ago from the PvP one in, was it Pandaria? Pandaria had that thing where you did your cooldown and you learned a recipe every day.
Yeah.
There you go.
So I was
Yeah.
the main leather worker on the realm. Everybody
So
would
is that a PvE server or a PvP server?
That's a
I'm not familiar.
PvE.
Okay.
So you don't fight for nodes. You don't fight for unless you're in a
Right.
area where it's world PvP. Everybody,
Right.
I wave at the trolls. I wave at the Tauren. I wave
Yeah.
at the orcs. If one of them's about to die, I jump in there to save him.
Wow.
And people look at me and they're like, "Are you sure you get the gist of this game? We're playing against each other." No, you're fine. I'll sell
No,
to you.
see, orcs just look that way. It's like you can't anticipate, what they're thinking just because they turned and looked at you and gave you the finger. That means hello for us.
Yes, rude gesture is not part of my vocabulary. I'm Canadian, right?
So you do the
I get
polite
those-
Canadian thing where you do PvE.
I apologize.
I get those.
You do.
I get those gestures from Mrs. Mack all the time.
Not everybody.
Usually it's well earned. Yeah.
And not everybody likes to be PvP'd on. It's an acquired taste, and it's just
Ganking while
I
you're
see.
fishing, you're not fully prepared. Especially if you have your
I-
fishing rod in your weapon slot.
I suck
Oh,
at
yeah.
PvP.
Oh, hey, I've done the whole fishing thing quite a bit on a PvP realm, and there's nothing like getting jumped by somebody that's 5 levels below you, and you're laughing at them because this fool's just going to go down so quick, and then you realize that they're laughing at you because you're hitting them with a fishing pole. But
You got your fishing hat equipped.
yes, yeah. It's take this, and you hit him in the face with the flounder. That's not going to really pack the same punch.
It's more Monty Python, yeah. Hey, so Constrax, how would you classify yourself as a player? Are you a hardcore raider, a filthy casual, or somewhere in between? Do you prefer solo, duty dungeons, or PvP, as we asked?
I would say I'm one of those ultra casuals on everything except maybe PvP. The bulk of my weekdays is usually 20 minutes of playtime before going to bed, or when I get up, I check the auction house and relist what didn't sell, and I play on my iPhone a lot, so that's where I do my auction house, is on the iPhone, because you can undercut by 1 copper without even thinking about it. You can just push a button, it does it for you. And I'm
Right.
one of those bad people that when the auction house on the phone was $2.99, I would pay for that because I would make so much gold at 3 o'clock in the morning buying the auction houses that people listed before they went to bed. So they would list volatiles for basically next to nothing, and I would clean out the entire market once a week.
Right. I used to love when realms would go down, and they would, and you'd know that they were going to be down for a while, right?
You put
So
a high
realm-
bid to everything.
Oh, the realms would be going down, and you would see, oh, here's an auction. It's only got about 6-7 hours probably left on it.
Yep.
And they have a low bid, and I'm just going to go right above this right before it goes off. And you know that person's like, oh yeah, I got to work, but I'll find out if what's sold when I get back after the server's been down all day.
And were you that player who would put a high bid on 200 auctions if they were like three silver each.
Yeah.
Awesome.
with a little bit of help from add-ons, but because it gets a little tedious ripping off that many people simultaneously. So you need a little help.
See, you're exactly like Trade Prince Gallywix. If my human rogue ever ran into Trade Prince Gallywix, I wouldn't try to PvP him. I'd ask him for a job.
I want to be your lackey.
I've had my times of upsetting some people in the auction house. I've had my share of hate mail.
You've got your fan mail? Your fan mail from the inbox that's 3 pages long?
Oh, yes. And tells that go on forever and being yelled at in trade.
Yeah.
And, I was just thinking trade. I always pretend like I don't even know who the person is. Like, yeah, I think he's got me confused with somebody else, or he's got Tourette's or something. I don't know I don't even play the auction house. I don't know what he's really talking about.
Uh-huh.
And the guys think after a little while, and I keep it up, the guys thinking, maybe it wasn't him.
I think the proper response is a screenshot or it didn't happen.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
It is. That was a real prevalent one in EverQuest when we played. People would always say that screenshot or didn't happen, dude. It's just that was my mob. Yeah. I did not see your name carved into his. Okay, I'm not. I don't want to have to bleep anything in this episode. It's a lot of work doing that because I don't have like a little button to push. I have to fake it with like a sound file. But so, what is your current method of making? You know what? Before I ask that, I just realized we don't have anywhere in here to ask you that I can see about Control Alt WoW. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to preempt my next question and give you a chance to kind of explain a little bit about how you got onto the podcast and how that all came to be and tell us a little bit about that, and then I'll go to my question.
Okay. So the way I ended up in Control Alt WoW is I sort of adopted the podcast as my go-to listen for my long drives, where I have like an hour and a half where I'm not able to do anything except drive on this one path that I've driven 2,000 times. So I start playing a longer podcast so I don't have to interrupt or play with the phone while I'm driving. I just put in like one earbud, and then I can listen to the entire show without pausing. And then if that one runs out, it latches onto the next show. And I kept hearing this guy talking. His name is Vrishna, and he would forever talk about his Iron Man and losing another Iron at level 19 against the elites in the Death Scar, which is in the northern part of the Blood Elf starting area. And he would talk about it and talk about it and talk about it. And about 12 or 14 weeks into talking about it, he was running out of steam. And I thought, you know what, that guy right there is the reason that I play, is if I can help people a little bit, then put some steam back under his wings, he's just going to keep on going. And so I started hanging out in their chat room, and I donated 2 vials of the Sands to draw on the show. And Rain wanted one. So I figure if I just give one away, she's going to miss her opportunity. If I give 2, the odds are at least 100% better that she's going to get one. And Daenerys ended up winning it. She gave it to Rain. So everybody got what they wanted. And Vrishna, I gave him the gold because he was, I think, not exalted with Kirin Tor, but I gave him the gold to buy himself a Traveler's Tundra Mammoth so that he could vendor his junk. And that's because when you multi-box, your bags fill up so quick.
Yeah,
I've found that out. Like I've started multi-boxing recently, and that's how I got on the show. Is they invited me from the chat room onto the show, And like Vrishna's saying, it's been 4 weeks. The guy just won't leave.
Mrs. Mack said that when we got married about
Well,
yeah. So that's I became an accidental podcaster in that moment.
Well, that's how Matt got married. Seriously, it was like he kept hanging around, and finally, Mrs. Mack said, I might as well get the tax write-off for this. This is I'm doing the time, and I'm not getting the money.
Bedroom?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of an arranged thing,
Okay.
It's not non-traditional, is what we call it. I was going to go there, but I am not going to question your sexuality in this podcast. I promised you I would never do it again, and I'm going to keep that promise until episode 50. So. So how long have you been one of the hosts?
Stuff I gotta put up with from you.
Yeah. How long have you been one of the hosts?
I've been a host since probably April or May. That's when I gave away the 2 vials, and I was instantly promoted to officer. I wasn't given the option.
Coming up on a year.
You're an officer now.
So you're coming up on a year, and the podcast has been around almost since launch, right?
It's been around 10 years. Yeah. 10 years last December. We celebrated our 500th show.
Yeah. Wow. That's something we'll never make it. Of course, WoW won't make it long enough for us to make 500 episodes.
I'm sure they'll bring out WoW too, and all your stuff will carry over.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, EverQuest did that. It didn't seem to work that way.
Yeah.
But,
I'm about to say, that went over real well for them.
That didn't really work. So, so back to my original question before I detoured on that. So what was what is your current favorite method of making gold, and why do you like it so much?
I like crafting the big ticket items and barking in trade that I'm undercutting the main my main competitor by a couple thousand gold, and that I'm going to list the item up in 5 minutes. And I wait, and nobody responds.
I hate guys like you that do that. I always say something like, yeah, he gets it from the same place Walmart gets it. It's all made in China stuff. Don't buy it. It'll fall apart.
Or people in trade chat will say it's a dupe. The trolling will start.
It's a dupe is the equivalent of saying it's made in China. It literally is the equivalent of that when you're trying to undercut somebody's credibility.
And
anyway.
I finally listed on the auction house, but when I listed on the auction house, I upped the price to undercut my competitors. So all of a sudden it's almost on par. And then I'll usually get a whisper, somebody swearing at me, and it's like, I said, you can buy. And they're like, oh, well, the price tag's too high. And then
in America that's called bait and switch, but go ahead.
And then a few seconds later they'll be like, well, I'm not interested. And they're like, okay, well, I said you can buy this for your kids. And then another few minutes go by and they're like, that's a really cool mount, And yeah. If you buy a token, you still have 20K in your pocket, and then it's like item sold. And then they whisper me back with the item in the whisper. So it's like another satisfied customer.
If not, here's a little tip. And I swore that I wasn't going to have anything useful for gold making in this podcast this week, but I'm going to break that rule. We were going to go for comedy only and no advice whatsoever, which has been our trend for a few weeks. But no, but here's something that you can do that coming from somebody who's been in sales their whole life, this works, and you get to irritate somebody at the same time, which for me is a complete bonus.
It's a double whammy.
It's a double whammy. Which you can, come on, double whammy. What was that show? Anyway. They probably didn't get that in Canada, but anyway.
If it's on Fox, we didn't get it in Canada.
What you do is you take an item that you're the only game in town. You got to make sure there's nobody else has it for sale, like some real rare transmog piece or something like that. You put it in the auction house for some, the high-end price, like really kind of bleeding edge. You're going to get whispers because there are going to be a lot of people that are going to want it, but they're not going to want to pay your price. They're going to try to get you to lower your price by making you feel bad.
Yeah.
So here's what you do. You take in all the whispers and you say, well, yeah, I think I'm going to keep it at this price for another, half an hour before I change the price. And if I haven't sold it, I'll change the price in a half an hour. And a half an hour later, you raise the price by 10%. And then it repeats. You'll get whispers from people saying, do you realize that you raised the price and not lowered it? Yeah, but I kept it that way for like a half hour before I raised the price. I think I'm going to keep it at this price for about that long again. And sometimes you sell it doing that. And it makes me feel all warm and fuzzy when that happens. But,
I'm sure. Wow, that's a good tip. I'll have to try that.
Yeah. It's always nice when you get to engage in a little auction house PvP while you're at it,
So
it's not show friends, it's show business.
There we go. What was your biggest gold making win?
Hands down, the Vial of the Sands and Cataclysm. Took me almost 7 months to farm it. And I had a buddy who got the recipe in 1 day or 3 days. He got the recipe on his first Canoptic jar.
I don't know anyone like that.
And then I said to him, listen, I'll buy the mats. Can you craft it for me? Or no, you buy the mats, you craft it for me. And he's like, I don't understand. And I said, just follow me. Follow me here. You're in a guild level 25. I'm in a guild level 7. You are saving 10% on mat cost because of bartering level 24 guild talent. I said, just keep making it for me. I'll tip you 1.5k every time. I go to sell in the auction house, and he's like, but I don't understand. He made like 20 or 30 of them for me. Good chunk of change, and I always tipped him. He said, stop tipping me. I said, you don't understand the process. I said, I can make this myself for a loss. You're helping me by crafting it. I have to tip you every time in order to have a clean conscience. I said, I make 10,000 gold on each of these.
Oh, see, now there's the problem. You let him know that you weren't tipping him enough. Is what you're trying so hard to get him to keep the tip. You let him know that you were just really only giving him a small tip. No, anyway. Too many times when you're trying to do the right thing and you're trying to do right by somebody and pay them well, you will run into that. They'll say, "Oh, okay, I get it now. I want more then." It's like, what the hell did I just do?
But he had his margin maneuver. Like, he knew that every time he made one for me, he saved 2,900 gold. He could ask for more. I would have paid. I still would have made money.
Well, and there's something to be said for just an automatic profit for clicking a frickin' button, right? You can't, what are you going to do? I mean, he doesn't have to worry about if it sells in the auction house. He doesn't have to worry. You're taking care of that entire part of it that he doesn't even have to deal with, and he can be doing something else. Yeah. So I can definitely see where that can be kind of a win-win. But now this is coming, and not just because I sent it to you in the notes, but what comes up definitely comes down. So we've heard about your big win. Why don't you tell us about that biggest oops moment? We've all had some investments or ideas that didn't quite pan out, and which one stands out to you that you wish you had kind of a do-over on?
One clear-cut moment that came on Sunday is spending probably 100,000 gold on herbs, and going to the auction house to list a trinket for 70k. that one definitely stands up as my not so fine moment during the week.
Right.
Another one, I could go on. I have a list of them. In Cataclysm, I bought 4 Traveler's Thunder Mammoth on 4 different characters because I kept getting kicked from my queues. After 10 or 12 wipes, they just kick the lowest DPS. That's how it has to go. But if
Right.
you whip out the Thunder Mammoth repair mount, everybody's fine with you sticking around.
Oh man! And then mounts were account bound and
No, they were
usable.
character bound at that point.
No, I know, but
Right,
then they
Especially a
made that
Pandaria,
change.
yeah, then it's like water under the bridge.
Yeah, yeah, that's got to kill though. A lot of people had mounts that they paid for on multiple tunes.
But
I
you know
didn't.
what? I knew
I didn't do
already.
that.
I knew already it was going to be like that, and I still bought the 4 mounts.
Oh, you did. I thought that was
I
your
knew.
oops that you bought 4 when it got
No,
when it
I
became.
had to do it because I couldn't stand. I was playing 4 hours a day and getting kicked 4 times a day. You know, if you were kicked once or twice, you could deal
Yeah.
with it. But getting kicked from 4 groups 4 times a day when you spent 20 to 40 minutes in the queue already,
Yeah.
Well, that's my
gotta
normal
hurt.
day.
And like that, it was cheaper for me to pay out 48,000 gold than to wait.
Yeah, it's funny if you're DPS, and this is coming from somebody who plays almost exclusively DPS. I will pick the DPS spec almost every time. There are some exceptions to that, like a Demon Hunter is one of those exceptions.
Yeah.
But I will more often than not always pick the DPS spec, and you'll get into an LFG or something, and and if your DPS is kind of lagging a little bit, they're wanting to boot you out, they're wanting to complain at you. If you're the healer and your healing is a little subpar, it'll be like, yeah, okay, we'll get it next time. The DPS is probably pulling too much aggro. Not your fault, man. But let's give it another shot. They give you so much slack because, they might be waiting in the queue for a little while for replacement otherwise.
If you kick the DPS, you have to wait almost 10 seconds.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah. You kick out the healer and you're back to square one for the most part. And
if you kick
it's
the
almost
tank, it's
that
a
way
half
for
hour.
the tank. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway.
Well, this is for the new gold maker out there. If you were going to start over from scratch today, how would you build your fortune, and what method would you use for that, and what would you avoid?
I would do dailies to get 100 gold. I've been broke at least 7 or 8 times in my WoW career where I've bought something that basically sucked up every bit of my gold, and I have no gold left on the server. And this is before pet battles. So
Right.
The essential thing to start right away before you do anything is to have 100 gold to pay for your repairs. Because if you have broken armor and broken everything, you're screwed. You basically, you can't go anywhere and do anything. Your fun times become disaster time. If you have enough time to do 100 gold, is going to be 6 or 7 dailies. So you can go places where you're not going to take any damage. You're going to get 16 gold per daily or 19 gold per daily, and you got your 100 gold to play the auction house. And you don't have to start big. You can start with old world mats. You can farm. You can take little stacks of 1 and make them into big stacks. If you're already in Legion, just go to Suramar and pick. Do the world quest for what's that called? The world quest for. I did it today. Starlight Rose. Starlight Rose. Okay. You pick 10 petals. There's nothing in there that's going to attack you. You pick 10 petals. You fly into the closest area, and you get 10 Starlight Rose. That's 1,000 gold right there for doing 1 daily.
Oh yeah.
And if you have the reputation for Valshara, the Dreamweavers or whatever they're called, the flower people, get the shoulder enchant for Harvester. Harvester is basically, that's 2,000 to 4,000 gold a day, just killing stuff. You can kill trash all day. You get 1, 2, 3, 4 bags. Each bag's got 500 gold to 1,500 gold just for killing stuff. You go to the auction house, you use Auctionator, you dump all that stuff. You don't even look at the price.
Right.
That's straight profit. And it's going to take a few minutes to sell because you're the cheapest guy out there. So you sell Queenfish, it's going to sell. That's 900 gold. You sell Foxflower, it's going to sell. That's another 900 gold. You sell Starlight Rose, it's going to sell. That's 400 or 500 gold. It doesn't matter what size or quantity. You don't even care. You got that for free.
Oh,
and
yeah.
people need so many herbs and so many cooking mats. They're just going to throw their gold at you. They're like, give me this stuff.
Well, yeah, that definitely works. And another thing, when you mentioned the shoulder enchant, if you've got the funds to invest a little bit in a character that's level 101, and you can twink them up with some of these high item level epics that you can get from the auction house. Now they're pricey. You're going to spend a little bit of cash on it. However, you will make that back if you can find yourself a high respawn rate area that you can just slaughter mobs.
Yeah.
Because you will be invincible, and you can even go in and you can solo every single one of the initial Legion dungeons like that at 101.
I used to have the shoulder enchant for the ore, but the ore is only worth 30 gold each.
No,
so
you don't want that.
I don't make enough gold with that. The harvester one with the herbs and the cooking mats, that is like solid gold.
That's the one that I use on my tunes. Absolutely. Well, next we've got on here. Once you've got the gold, myself, when I get a nice collection of gold, I usually have to spend it on lap dances for the big guy here. But what do you spend your gold on? And I hope it's not like some naked night elf dancing on a mailbox, because that's
that's been done.
That's been done. How do you reward yourself for all your hard work?
I don't really. I don't need gold. I've bought both Spectral Tigers. I have a collection of 272 mounts. After tonight, it'll be 275 mounts. I'm like a super lazy mount collector. I started out not collecting mounts at all, but when I got my 50th mount, I got a free one for 51. I was like, okay, maybe I can collect these. So
you're not counting all those Tundra Mammoths separately, are you?
No. Okay. I just have the one. But when you buy the Mechgineer Chopper, they give you the Mechano Hog for free. So you get two mounts for that.
Well, it doesn't count for both of them, though. Only one of them counts towards your mount count.
But if you play both Horde and Alliance like I do, it's handy to have a passenger mount.
Right.
For me, what's been real rewarding is being able to give back to the community through the podcasting people. Being able to group up with the people at Control Out WoW to go and do stuff. Having the GM and that guild open a portal for me to on her mage, so I could get straight to Warlords without having to do the intro quest, because you have to think while you're doing that intro quest, that's an hour that you're not making gold.
Yeah.
So
I agree 100%.
Sometimes you don't have that hour. Sometimes you have 15 minutes, and if you can get to your garrison without having to do the thing that I don't understand how to do in the Timeless Isle there, where you go into the cave, you set a campfire, you light the campfire. No, just port me to War Spear. I have flying. I'm in a hurry. I just don't have the 5 minutes. And if you can
what's even faster than that, at least for Horde side, I'm not sure how it matches up on Alliance, but on Horde side, there is, and I'm not remembering the name of the dungeon now, but there's a dungeon not far from where you set up the garrison. And you can just, if you have a couple of people that'll summon you, I use the summoning stone there.
I have 2 accounts. I don't have 3. If I had 3 accounts, I could do it. But I have 2 right now. This is my limit for spending. Just an example of gold making opportunities that, how do I reward myself, is I was speaking with another show host, and they were saying that they were unsubbing. And for me to give them 160,000 gold on their server so they could buy a WoW token just was not feasible. For me, 2 months of game time is $34 Canadian. So I just walked up to the store. I said, give me 2 months of game time. And I Twittered him. I said, here's a code. Just buy yourself your sub for the month, and figure out what you're going to do after. And the guy is like super nice. He's always willing to help, always chatty on Twitter. It's like, for me, $34 is 40 minutes of overtime.
Right.
There you go.
For me to make 160,000 gold, that's several days. I don't have.
Right.
You know, like, you could buy a WoW token, yeah, and I could just go to the store, give Blizzard some money.
But you know what?
And just give the guy game time. Like, and what I learned in Draenor, the biggest lesson I got from Draenor, is a wingman is worth more gold than any amount of money you're going to make that day. If you got a wingman to help you out for something, that hour that they're helping you is worth 2 months of game time, easy.
My wingman's usually asleep when I'm playing.
Yeah, your wingman has been cutting out on. You know, you say that. I understand your point of view on that. It's like, okay, it takes me way too much time to make the gold.
Yeah.
You know, I'd rather spend the regular money. Well, I use credit card for my for my account. I don't use gold use tokens for that. But what I did do, because I had a lot of excess gold, is I converted it, and I waited a long time to be able to do this, to convert it to Blizzard bucks so that I could, buy the mounts in the store. Now the mounts are $25, whatever, a piece. And
but it's the principle of the thing.
It's for me, even though it would be less time for me to just go, all right, I'll just use my credit card and buy all the mounts that I want there and be done with it. I actually feel like I'm cheating if I do that. Yeah. It's just something inside me. It's like, no, I need to have earned it with something that I did in game. If I get a mount and it wasn't something that I earned with time I spent playing and everything, it feels like I cheated. It feels like I went on eBay and I bought one of the trading card game mounts. One of these days I will get the magical rooster egg, but I will not get it.
I keep looking.
By spending real money
I'm hoping to
for
find
it.
one for you.
Oh well, I see them all the time. They're just way too much for what I'm going to spend.
Just to give you an example of how much fun I have giving stuff away, I've donated over $500,000 worth of gold stuff to the podcast, the guild, the members, chat room pets, and whatnot, and that's nothing. That's pocket change.
Right.
Tidra, the chat girl, who was hosting the chat room, she never, ever, ever, ever asked anybody for anything. And one day she mentioned she wanted the Grand Expedition Yak.
Yeah.
So I sold like 6 Hate Spark to Tiny or 8 Hate Spark to Tiny on that server for $60,000 each. And then I got some help from Lita, and I hunted her down, and I just opened a train window. Here's $120,000. Cost you nothing.
There you go.
And that was very rewarding to me to be able to do something for her where she spent many, many months, years hosting the chat room asking for nothing.
Yeah, we just talked recently about giving back and all of that in a recent podcast. So that was, that's... So, anyway, all right.
So, Constructs, is there a piece of advice you'd like to pass on to our listeners, something we haven't covered so far? Or?
There is one thing that I would like people to keep and focus when they play, is they're not there as a second job. They're not there to grind all day and just like burn themselves out. That's not what the game is there for. They have university caliber people working on this game to provide lots and lots and lots of content. Your first goal when you come to play WoW should be to have fun. And whatever helps you to accomplish that goal, whatever, if helping others is what makes you happy, that's what you should be doing. And there should never be in your playtime a race on, except maybe when a new patch drops and there's a reputation pet that you can earn that's going to net you 5 times the vendor cost. Then that's a race, because you have you have the goal in your mind to make lots of gold with that pet. So you can grind dailies for that pet 5 hours a day if you want.
Right.
On multiple servers or whatever, however you want to slice it to get the mount or pet recipe that's going to benefit you in the long run. But that should be the only time where grinding comes before having fun.
Right. In other words, you don't need it. You don't want a second job.
Yeah, your ultimate goal when you come to play should be to have fun.
Yeah. Yeah, and even for people that are really heavily into gold making, it makes sense that you find a happy medium there. You know, if you're content spending half your time making gold, and that's what you want to do, that's awesome. I like it to be a smaller percentage than that. If I don't feel like that I'm doing something in game that I'm enjoying, outside of the gold making, at some point it becomes, okay, what's the point? I guess it's kind of like the guy that's working 80 hours a week and never sees his family, never does anything, and But
I do
anyway.
Arena 2s on the weekend if I'm able to find a partner, and I'll spend the whole weekend doing that if I can.
Yeah.
I'll spend like 8 hours a day, and like if the guy needs an enchant that costs 10K, let's go to the auction house. I'll buy it for you. Here's a trade window. Take it, install it. I don't care. Because that time for me, the weekend time, is so valuable. It's compared to the rest of the week. The rest of the week I have maybe 20 minutes to play, so the rest of the week is 80% gold making. Is what I spend my time on.
All right. Well, besides the Goblin Goldcast, which is always everyone's first choice, there are many other devoted people out there. They're devoted to gold making content and so forth. Who would you like to single out as someone that's well worth a shout out? Feel free to name a few if there's more than one, and basically, who would you classify as a must interview person for our podcast?
I would, at the top end of that short list, I would put somebody like Olivia Grace. She's worked at Blizzard. She's worked at Wowhead. She's been a professional podcaster for years at many podcasts, and she has like a good overall presence with the media. So I would say she's like a top pick of somebody to interview about all the different various aspects of the game, not just because she's a PvP professional, but because she is somebody that Blizzard approached and wanted to work for them. So she has that special sauce that everybody would like to have in their party. And second to that would probably be Panzer. She led the interview panel at the last BlizzCon to talk to the developers, and she did an awesome job. She did fantastic. She just has such a good presence and quick reply, and she's able to pick through trade chat and find the good stuff in there, because it's not easy to have somebody come there and take your comment apart and rework it into something that's usable. And she has that skill. And also there's other people like Zupercat, who gives discounts to people who use the Ask Mr. Robot add-on. So she will pimp out her life income on a show, and as a result, she'll give the podcaster free access to her US-based account, which is a paid-for service if you want the premium stuff, and it's super handy because I never look at my gear. It's like, what does Mr. Robot tell me? And I didn't used to be like that. I didn't used to know what add-ons were, because I was afraid somebody was going to steal all my gold. Because the guy who gave me my 10-day free trial, he got his account hacked twice and lost all his stuff. Twice, not just once, twice. So that means get an authenticator and use it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we really want to thank you, Construx, for giving us this interview. You've been awesome. I think Mac feels the same.
Oh, yeah. No, we really appreciate you coming over.
Yeah. It's a pleasure, as always, to listen to your guys' show. Like, I'll take every show apart that you have, and I'll try to pick out the inside jokes, and I listen to everything like 7 or 8 times because there's like so many good moments in there that are like priceless. And my hearing's not that good, and so like I hear better out of my right ear. I probably need my ears checked out. But it's like you guys like have so much good chemistry in there. It's fun to listen to.
Yeah, we're like nitroglycerin. Chemistry, right?
I think you said that before.
I did say that before. It was worth repeating.
Yeah, absolutely.
So why don't you tell us where people can listen to you and how people can get a hold of you?
Certainly. If listeners would like to visit our chat room and interact with us during the live recording of Control Out WoW, we record on this Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Our website is ctrlaltwow.blogspot.com. And our chat room does not have a clean tag, so be ready in there for all kinds of jokes that aren't going to appear on the podcast.
Oh.
And our focus is mainly to talk about gameplay. How was our week in WoW? Because that's what we really all enjoy talking about. And if you'd like to join the Clan of Darkness on Northern Ring US, you have to send us an email at controloutwow@gmail.com to be accepted into the guild. It is a podcast guild, and our members will be happy to chat with you on all your various endeavors. Perillian is our GM, and she's helping me craft mounts on Earthen Ring for a tip, of course. I split the profits with her 50% on the sales. And Grand Nagus is super, super nice about selling me enchanting pets that I can sell on other servers. I don't try to compete with them on Earthen Ring, but you can sell those for revenue on any server you want. So it's super handy to have somebody like him who has a high-level enchanter who's crazy about learning all the recipes he can have.
There you go.
Okay. Well, I think that's going to about wrap up this week's show. I'd like to thank Schaefer Bates for his awesome work as the Goblin voice at the beginning of each show. Also, Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com for his theme music, Hot Rock, licensed under Creative Commons.
And if you'd like to get a hold of us, you can contact us at Mac, that's MAC, at GoblinGoldcast.com, or Dex, that's DEX, at GoblinGoldcast.com. If you're having trouble with either of those emails, you can get a hold of us at our alternate email, MacGoblinGoldcast@gmail.com. You can contact us on Twitter at Goblin Goldcast, or you can visit us on Facebook.
Don't forget to visit the swag store at cafepress.com/Goblin Goldcast, and you can leave us a voicemail on our website, GoblinGoldcast.com, and please subscribe to us on iTunes or Stitcher if you listen to us there.
And we'll see you next week.
Now go make some gold.
Everybody knows you never go full retard.
What do you mean?
Check it out. Dustin Hoffman, Rain Man, look retarded, act retarded, not retarded. Count 2 picks, cheated cards. Autistic, sure, not retarded. You got Tom Hanks, Forrest Gump. Slow, yes, retarded, maybe, braces on his legs, but he charmed the pants off next to him and they won a ping pong competition? That ain't retarded. Peter Sellers being there. Infantile, yes, retarded, no. You went full retard, man. Never go full retard. You don't buy that? Ask Sean Penn, 2001, I am saying. Remember? Went full retard. Went home empty-handed.